Hello, my name is Matthias Ziegler and I'm leading technology innovation in Accenture Austria, Switzerland, Germany and Russia, as well as all of our technology incubation groups in Europe. I'm happy to sponsor our TechInnoValue fireside chats in which Accenture's top experts share their view on innovation and on our future.
Hi, I'm Felix Schiessl. I'm a member of Matthias' team and I drive the quantum computing community and technology innovation marketing in Accenture Austria, Switzerland, Germany and Russia. I'm excited to get valuable insights from our guests in this series, so stay up to date by following our hashtag TechInnoValue. Today I'm with Uly Wolters, who is Ventures Lead for Accenture Europe. So Uly, can you tell me a little bit more about your role?
Yes, of course, Felix. Thank you very much. My role is actually split twofold. On the one hand, we are looking for interesting startup to acquire, where we acquire minority shares in a seed stage. This is what we call origination. The second part of the job is to organize and orchestrate the go-to-market of these startups so that we bring the real life and value of our startups to clients and accounts globally.
So as we're talking about innovation, who is better at innovation, startups or corporates?
That is a tricky question, especially as we are consulting large corporates. But in my prior role, I also have been a venture building lead. So in this regard, I really have a long-standing experience exactly with that question. And I would say when it comes to true innovation, startups are typically better. And we see, let's say, a variety of typical pitfalls which we ever see in corporate venture building again. But the good news is you can overcome, and you also have some truly hard assets that you can utilize.
Great. So Accenture is not a typical VC, and a lot of other companies are also forming corporate venture capital funds. So is that on the rise? Is that becoming more common?
In general, I would say venture capital is at the rise. If, for example, you look at Europe, you could say that it's more funds, it's bigger funds, and bigger funds require also bigger ownership. And the fact behind, you could say, European VCs have raised 60% more capital in the last 4 years. And European startups raised 100% more capital over the last 4 years. So we're talking several dozen $billion at the moment already. And so you could say venture capital as a whole is on the rise. And by this, also corporate venture capital is on the rise because more and more companies, let's say, have experience and that they're struggling somehow with innovation and they're exploring different paths. So they try how to organize venture building better, how to acquire new startups teams and integrate, and also how to participate, let's say, with existing startups. And for the large, let's say, partners of Accenture, like Workday, Salesforce, SAP, we could also observe that they follow up on also a strong M&A strategy when it comes to their innovation. So they are looking for specific areas for companies to buy. So in this regard, you could definitely say that also corporate venture capital is on the rise.
And how do you identify an interesting startup?
In general, I would say the interesting question is, how is a startup, an interesting startup detected? I would say there are two ways to follow up. One way is actually you could follow a network, or some call it spider approach. That is, you're looking for to form a big network of VCs, with typically one big spider, so who have strong connection and brings in a lot of other VCs, like Sequoia, for example. And then typically they help each others out. So when they detect something, they share deal flow, and so by this they have a much broader view of the market. And the other approach is what I call investment approach. So we have a very strict investment thesis on which you follow up. We are currently following the latter one. So we believe that we do have certain a technology expertise in certain areas, and that in these areas we believe innovation, edge innovation will take place. We try to invest in very early stages, seed stages in these areas, and we believe this will much more forming the markets. And as we are a huge consultancy, we can also drive, let's say, certain demand in certain areas with very innovative technology and position ourselves as technology, which is, let's say, a byproduct when you're a CVC. And so this is probably an approach which is possible if you're a larger company with a huge expertise or experience base.
So you already mentioned some points on technology. So which technology will bring major disruption to European core industries and why?
Also another good question. I would say there's a huge set of technology which will shape the future. So I will take a few examples here. Yeah, you could say cloud. Yeah, you could say AI or quantum. But typically, I would say that's a combination. Yeah, if you take cloud plus data plus AI plus quantum, then you see currently. We believe that within 5 years, the amount of data which we will analyze or which is stored will increase by 5 times. Also, the amount of data which is analyzed will be increased from like just 4% to maybe 20%. So we expect within just 5 years, 25%, 25 times more analysis or analyzed data. By this, we will get much more insights on everything, be it new products, new processes, and new ideas, and so on, a new correlation. So this will really drive innovation. That is one good example. Another big area is, I believe, process automation. Yeah, here we also see very different approaches. We see task miners, process miners, companies who take care about workforce productivity, or RPA, which is robot and bot automation. And all this have in the end the same end game. Yeah, so it's about really looking at an existing process and to rebuild it the best way and to delegate tasks which are repetitive, standardized to robots, and then really make the value add by humans. And by this, we will be able to do much more output with the same amount of people. And also people will probably be more happy because there's more purpose in what they are doing, and they not just have to repeat ever and ever the same task or scanning for certain checks. Another good example, a third one I would like to take out here, is modular production. So for hundreds of years, we are actually building the same way in production, so which is followed the principle of assembly line production. So a sequence of workstations, and each product has to go workstation by workstation. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you produce a BMW limousine or convertible, it always has to go from one workstation to the other. And if you go to modular production, this principle changes. So actually, the car only goes to that station where actually it is required to go. And also the stations are completely flexible to produce whatever. So this is really important for every company who is looking for or who produces a large variety of products, who often have to change product in between, or who wants to go for mass customization. So in this regard, this means a much larger flexibility and resilience in production is possible, and also huge savings. And we think probably $2 to $3 trillion of global production will be affected by modular production, with a saving potential of closely to 1 trillion, which is really tremendous. Yeah, so we're talking $1,000 billion of cost savings and much higher flexibility and chances for company. And the last area I would like to take out is probably global payment platforms. So there's much more opportunity to pay with different payment systems. So also we heard about the latest development in cryptocurrencies, whether crypto might take over from fiat currencies, and decentralized finance. Yeah, so actually that the blockchain or the technology behind digital currencies like Bitcoin is allowed actually several entities to hold a copy of the history of transaction. So it's not only the transaction or the value transaction, but also a lot of other things you can actually change. and it's taking the middleman out of the game in many things. So if you combine global payment platforms with DeFi, then you actually can also see a lot of, let's say, development and new ideas which could occur here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those broad look at technologies and how they can bring value. So there's another big topic at the moment, which is sustainability and impact. Should companies invest into impact or sustainability startups?
I believe yes. That would be my simple answer. Why this? I believe we are really on a way to a net zero carbon economy, which means a huge transformation. And if we look at the three big power blocks of the world economy, which is China, Europe, and the US, we could definitely say with the new Green Deal, the regulation of the European Union is the most advanced and most tightest, and this will soon become the global regulatory framework for many things, and it will be adopted also by the large players, as we could have seen with GDPR, so the data privacy regulation. And this regulation is really driving us into, first of all, a reduced carbon economy and then a net zero economy. And with such strong regulation forces, I also believe this will change really the way corporates are planning. And typically, it will drive an exponential transformation. And the exponential transformation typically comes much faster than we all anticipate. Yeah? Just think of e-commerce. So that is my past, let's say. I remember well a lot of talks in existing industries where people say, look, Uly, you don't believe that people buy shoes like in the internet, that's impossible. Yeah, or maybe 5% nerds will do. Yeah, but now we see it widespread. Yeah. Or for foods and clothes and everything. Yeah, we had the same discussion with electric vehicle. Just 3 years ago, I had huge discussion saying, look, if you look at the exponential curves of electric vehicle, we already see the same pattern here. But if I, let's say, simply extrapolate this exponential pattern, we will see 2030, there will be only electric vehicle to sell. Yeah, and people were like, you can't believe the German car manufacturer will not change the game. Yeah, now just 3 years later, we see that Daimler has announced to shift to electric vehicles only, or Volkswagen in very short time. Yeah, so and I expect the same to happen here. That's why I believe impact investing or sustainability investing will really be an interesting field. But I would concentrate really on those where companies go for net zero, because I believe the end goal is not to produce any carbon any longer, because every carbon we put to the atmosphere is a problem. Yeah? So in the end, we really need to go to net zero. So therefore, I would go for technologies and companies who aim for that purpose and for that goal, because I will think that will come sooner. No?
Thanks a lot, Uly, for all the insights. Thanks for being with me. And with that, I ask everybody of you to check out Uly's LinkedIn profile as well. He's sharing a lot of insights there. And thanks again for your time.
Felix, thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure talking to you.